No, I think we're about right. I think, shall we start, Vanessa?
I think that's a great idea. Let's jump into it.
Okay.
We will be recording today, so people can hear this later, or if you missed something or recommend it to somebody else, then we'll be recording it. So
Yeah.
all good.
So we'll be sharing the screen, so this will pop up. Hopefully I don't need to jump in and out of this all the time. But let's have a look here. So, and hit that there. Excellent. So firstly, thank you everyone for coming along to this first webinar today. Obviously the main purpose of this is really to try to bring us all together during what is an undoubtedly a really challenging time right now. And I know for a lot of people, there's either, loss of hours or being stood down or redundancies, and it can be quite frightening and challenging. So we want to do something that was giving back to the community, and hopefully something that provided some tips and inspiration and a place where we can get together and chat as well. So that's really the purpose of today. As I mentioned before, Vanessa and I have got a bit of a presentation prepared. But if at any point you do have any questions or anything like that, then please feel free to unmute yourself and join in. There will be parts throughout it where we have questions or spaces for questions as well. And if we can't answer them today, then I promise you we will get back to you about it. If you use the chat feature, I can't see that, but Vanessa is going to be keeping an eye on that. So just know that if you do type a comment in there, I may not necessarily be able to see it. And Vanessa, I don't know if you can see the waiting room either, but if you see anyone else.
I can't. I don't have access to the waiting room.
Okay, so we'll just have to see there how that goes. Unfortunately, it is what it is. So today we're going to be focusing on a few different things. And really, when Vanessa and I and Vicky were talking about this, we realised that probably the starting place for a webinar like this is probably going to be more around things like mental health and physical health and having a plan moving forward over something like doing your CV and folio. And certainly we'll get to them in future webinars if that's something that interests you. But it felt like that this was a really good starting point today to be able to talk about things like your mental health and wellness and how to stay on top of that, your physical health, especially if you're in the world of ISO, and having a bit of a plan moving forward in terms of what that looks like under the current circumstances that we have. So with that, let's chat into the first part, which is my part, and it's all about mental health. I think many of you may realise or know that I have a side business that is in the mental health space. So this is a topic that I'm extremely passionate about, and something that, whenever you see any of my blogs that are on the Creative Recruiters website or on our LinkedIn page, you tend to know that there's a bit of a mental health slant that goes with that as well. And really what I want to do is provide some ideas about what you can do to help stay on top of your mental health during this period. So this is undeniably a bit of a challenging period right now. Obviously, there's a lot of concerns out there around things like people's health, your loved one's health, job security, financial state, economy, all those sort of things. And so it's understandable that people are going to be feeling slightly more on edge and perhaps experiencing overwhelm, anxiety, and stress more than what they normally would. So it's more important than ever to bring a bit of a focus to that, to be able to make sure that we are feeling that even under these current circumstances that we can still feel calm and capable of making logical, rational decisions. So there's a few things here that I can share with you in terms of how to do that. Now, the first one I've got there is to have a timeout day. I'm sure many of you have had the old, mental health day idea that's there, and this is kind of similar to that. If you're feeling overwhelmed, if it feels like there's just too much involved, sometimes it's good to take a half day or a day off just to do something that you're going to enjoy and to allow yourself to not get caught up in those thoughts. Now, granted, this is a bit of a distraction. The problems are not necessarily going to go away, but you don't have to solve every problem immediately either. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, it sometimes means that you're not capable of making those best decisions. And so having that kind of half day off where you can just allow yourself to step away from that is sometimes good for some people to be able to to just calm down a little bit and to get back into that rational frame of mind. The second one is a common one you would have heard often, connecting with others, whether it be via Zoom or Skype or House Party, I think is a new one, or over the phone. Just because you're not necessarily in the same room doesn't mean you still can't have a genuine connection with someone. I think one of the really exciting things about this period is that it's forcing us to be innovative with the technology that we have and in the ways in which we're able to connect with other people. Maintaining a routine. Now, I don't know about you, but I have a routine every morning where I get up, and generally it's get up, go and feed the cats, jump into the shower. It's very much a set sequence. And I think when you're in a situation where it's unusual for you, you can sometimes find that routine can be thrown out of whack, and that can create that sense of anxiety as well. So making sure that you have a routine that you can maintain. For me nowadays, I still make sure that I'm dressed, ready to go, sitting in front of my computer at 9 o'clock to start work. So it's not too dissimilar to the routine I would have had previously, except I don't have to go through that tedious public transport side of things. Having said that, I do miss listening to my audiobooks on public transport. So pros and cons. Get some exercise in. The body is made to move. And when it moves, it means that there's an endorphin release, which allows you to feel good. And Vanessa's going to go into more of that afterwards, because Vanessa, some of you may know, is a qualified yoga instructor. But there's ways that you can ensure you get movement in each day. This sounds really corny, and some of you may have a giggle. It is a bit silly, but whenever I put the kettle on, for instance, because I do like a hot drink, I will put the kettle on, and then I will generally either walk or run on the spot the entire time that water is boiling. Now, believe it or not, that generally gets around 500 steps in. And, with the amount of coffee I drink, that's around 10,000 steps a day. No, not really. It does mean that, I'm getting a few steps in there as well. Now, obviously, you can go out for a walk twice a day. The government is happy to do that. So just making sure that you have the ability to move and to exercise. I was saying to Vanessa before, things like TRX cables as well. I've got a set here that I've been meaning to pull out. And that's great for bodyweight work as well. Practice what is in your control. I think one of the biggest challenges that people have in this current situation is that they feel like their control is being taken away from them. And this may be something that they're consciously registering or unconsciously registering. But, we certainly saw that with the panic buying out there. Why do people go and buy a whole lot of toilet rolls? It's because they felt like that was within their control. It was perhaps a little bit irrational, and we're now seeing people trying to return toilet paper. However, it really is about that sense of control. And in a world where it feels like your control is being compromised, reminding yourself of what is in your control can help enormously. What is in your control is that you can still get up and maintain a routine in the morning. You can still do some form of exercise. You can still do something to maintain your mental health. You can still continue to develop who you are as a person. These are all still within your control, regardless of what limitations you have in terms of being able to go out the front door or any of those other things. Now, I do feel like I'm rambling, and I have to remind myself occasionally to just stop and ask if there's any questions or anything like that at this point, or if you're happy for me just to continue rambling on. Yep, I'm getting thumbs up there. Excellent. Okay. Clearing your mind. Now, this is kind of similar to that mental health day thing I was talking about earlier, but when you find that you have your mind being overrun with a whole lot of negative thoughts and negative thinking and anxiety about potential worst case scenarios that may or may not happen, it means that you're not allowing yourself to be fully present to that moment. It means that you're not having the opportunity to just be in that moment. One of the way that anxiety works is that you think about the potential worst case scenario that may or may not happen, and then you believe it so wholeheartedly that you end up having this reaction in the body as if it really is happening. So to be able to have that ability to clear the mind, or to be objective and subjective about your thinking, can really benefit you to help let go of those thoughts that aren't really serving you, and to bring your energy and focus where it needs to be. Which leads to my next point, focusing on the positives. From the many conversations I've had with some of the people in this room, right now, I know that we've discussed the many positives that could come out of this COVID-19 situation. Certainly I think there's going to be an increased awareness about our own personal health and the impact that it has on others. I think it's going to see an increase in innovation and creativity. We're being given all these limitations about how we can work, and we're managing to knock down those walls each day with a new idea. I think for people that are sitting at home bored, there's going to be a point where they break through that boredom and begin to be creative. And we're seeing that with TV shows showing videos of people being creative at home to do something to fill that time. So there's all these positives that are potentially going to come out of it. Even things like resilience. It might feel hard right now, but as you get through each day and realize that you can do this, that sense of resilience is going to build more and more. And that's going to be really useful as we get towards the other side of this. Which leads to my next point. Recognize that this will pass. There has been pandemics in the world before. We're not always going to be in this situation. It might feel like we've just had the longest march known to mankind. However, the reality is that at some point things will shift. Life will go back, perhaps not to normal. Perhaps there's something better than that that's waiting on the other side. With all these things that we're experiencing now and all the wisdom and insight we take, perhaps what we're heading towards is going to be even better than what we left behind. So just remembering that this will pass, this will be a blip in history. And yes, we have to go through challenges right now, but there's going to be lots of opportunity on that other side. Reach out for further support if necessary. If you feel that it's too overwhelming, if you feel that you're going to too dark a place, know that you're not alone. Know that there are services out there like Lifeline, Beyond Blue that you can call at any given time to just chat. Some people feel like they can't tell these things to their friends because they're afraid they're going to be a burden to their friends. If you feel like that, and you feel like it's getting overwhelming, then these services exist online to be able to help you. So know that it's normal, know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and to utilize these services. And lastly, to do something that brings you joy. I'm talking to a room of, we've got someone jumping in here. Oh, there we go. I'm talking to a room of creatives at the moment, and I know that what you do, you don't do just because it's a job. I know you do it because it's part of your identity. It's part of who you are. So being creative is something that I imagine sparks joy for you. I'm beginning to sound like that woman that does all the minimal stuff, aren't I? We're talking about sparking joy. But, indulge in something that brings you joy. I know for me, I bought a turntable at the start of last year, and I rediscovered the simple pleasure of getting a piece of vinyl with beautiful artwork, putting it on, laying down on a couch, and just immersing myself in the music in that moment. And it's just such a wonderful experience. It takes me back to my childhood, or my teenage years, where I was collecting vinyl, and how much I loved that. And it allows me just to let go for the moment, to not worry about anything else, to just be absorbed in that music experience and to feel really good in that moment. And I'm sure that all of you in this room have something similar like that, whether it's writing a story or poem, doing a piece of artwork, learning a new skill, practicing yoga, playing with your pets, having a virtual dinner party or a virtual dance party if you want, whatever is going to work for you. Being creative, rediscovering what it is that gives you joy. My partner at the moment is discovering old furniture and reupholstering it and sanding it and creating these beautiful pieces of furniture from that. How fantastic that he's tapping into that passion and that joy to deal with this period. We all have that ability to be able to tap into something that gives us that joy. I think that's the last one on that slide for me. It is. I get to hand it over to the lovely Vanessa now and just sit back and
well, before we do that, is there any questions for Lawrence on any of those points? I think they're all fabulous, and sometimes we know them but forget about them.
That's exactly it. This is common sense in many ways, but when you're feeling anxious, common sense isn't always the first thing that happens. So sometimes just having these simple things to be able to allow you to step back from the problem, even just for half a day, and then to readdress it the next day with a fresh set of eyes, a fresh mind, is going to be really valuable for you. Here's to that. Okay. It's Diet Coke, not wine. Okay.
BA has a question. Yes, BA.
I was just going to say that, you know, it's very interesting that you mentioned boredom, Lawrence, because I know, you know, in the beginning, we were going at 1,000 miles an hour. You know, we were trying to set systems and processes up, and we were talking, our phones were running red hot from candidates and clients. And, you know, next thing we knew, something like 10, 11, sometimes 12 hours had just gone for the three of us. And we realized we weren't moving. And then as the weeks progressed, because, you know, I've been in isolation since the 16th of March, you know, as the weeks have progressed, you find that the momentum that you had starts to close down. And one of the things that the three of us have recognized, particularly in the last couple of days, is that we've got to keep to our schedule, but break up the day more and actually move away more. It's more of a statement than a question, but, you know, the three of us have realized that we need to do that. And I guess for those of you that are still working, it's very much about speaking to your employer and finding that new way of working. We've suggested even working shorter hours to make the day a bit more compressed, because we tend to work better under pressure.
We're not under pressure. We don't understand.
So speaking to your employer about better, you know, new ways of working or hours that actually work better for you whilst in isolation. I think those conversations need to be at the forefront, because this boredom will start to, unfortunately, increase, and therefore we have to find that new way to shake it up a bit.
I think the important thing is that we're all complex individuals. We all run in very different ways, and you know, you are going to be the best person to determine how your mental state is. And if you find that you're struggling, the best thing you can do is just start that conversation, discover if others are struggling too, and perhaps what you can do in those situations to help do something a little bit different, and to break it up a little bit, and to discover new ways of being. The unfortunate thing, or the fortunate thing, I guess, is that we're all going to discover discomfort through this period. But the great thing is that you learn massive amounts through discomfort. Change comes from embracing discomfort. And so maybe, you know, we come from a world where it was fast paced, and we're, you know, we put things like deadlines over our personal health. Maybe this slowing down that's going on is actually really good for reminding us of what's important in life. Maybe COVID-19 is doing us some favors, as well as causing an enormous amount of crap. So,
on that note, no, really good points from VA, and of course from Lawrence as well. And that leads into, you know, setting a daily routine. You know, creating a daily routine is essential, and especially in our current environment. And there's such a blur at the moment, especially for most of us, because we're working from our lounge room. So, you know, what is home and what is work responsibilities? But setting up a routine will allow you to build on productivity, and also define, you know, the future for working from home and living from home. So here are 6 easy steps to follow. Lawrence?
Yeah, I'm getting there. Jeez. I couldn't remember if I clicked the mouse or if I hit the space bar or what. So it's the space bar.
Step 1. So you need to make a list of all your tasks that you normally do. So no matter how big or small they are. I mean, you can even add in the morning brushing your teeth. I mean, you know, just think of all the things that you do need to achieve during the day. Step 2, structure your day. So this is really good, and Lawrence touched on this before. Some of us are early birds, so we get most of we're more energetic in the morning, and some of us are night owls. So we like to, we don't usually get started until the afternoon or work very late at night. Only you can ascertain when the best time of the day is to get things done for yourself. Step number 3, get specific with times. And this actually feeds back to step number 1 and step number 2. Obviously, getting specific with times, brushing your teeth first thing in the morning is always good. But going back into whether you're a night owl or an early bird, for me personally, I have more energy in the morning. So any sort of major exercise, I structure that in the morning. And then in the afternoon and later in the evening is cooking and things that I don't have to focus on so much. So again, structure into that. What time do you need to get up? When is the best time for you to have a lunch break? And when is a good time now to actually go to bed? Step number 4, then schedule in, make sure you schedule in time for flexibility for things that come up that were not expected. So if you did have to take one of your kids to the school, or you had to go and drop something off to somebody, those things don't always come up on a day-to-day basis. So you need to be flexible, have time for flexibility in your schedule. Step number 5 is to test drive your routine. Now, normally when I was looking this up and researching it, said you should test drive it for 21 days or longer. I think in our current environment, you can test it in a week and see if it works, now that a week feels like a month. So test drive it and allow the time to see if it works. Did you allow enough time for the activities to be done? You may have exercised, scheduled in 30 minutes of exercise, but it's getting ready to go out for the exercise, coming back and, washing your hands and cleaning after you've been to the supermarket. All those things we need to allow time for. And I think the most important one, step number 6, is change your routine when or as needed. I mean, you may, a lot of you are freelancers out there. Maybe you get a freelance job and then your routine has to change. But, it's your routine. You're going to be writing out what's going to happen. You're the one that's in charge. But I think test drive it and see what works. See what works for you and see what doesn't work for you. It's all in your control. Any questions on that so far, on routines? Again, I think, as Lawrence said before, we all sort of know this, but to actually see those steps there and to think about it again in the new environment is always good. So now, sorry, VA, did you have a question?
I was just going to say, and I think it just goes back to the point of, again, that if you are still working from home and you are still employed, that you speak to your employer about finding that way that works for you. And, if there's a whole lot of you and you all need to be online between 9 and 5, so be it. But if you're lucky enough that it really doesn't matter when you do your work, you'll find that your needs throughout this isolation are going to completely change. It's a little bit like when you go on holidays and you start to stay up later rather than going to bed when you do. Whatever works for you, I think, needs to be presented to your employer. And I think your employer will be really grateful for that knowledge. Fundamentally, they just need to get whatever it is that you do done for them. And having that open communication about some flexibility around that, I think, will really help with your concentration and your mental health.
Because what you do affects everybody, so it has to work in with everybody else. So now that you've got a routine set up, here is what I wanted to talk about, and what Lawrence mentioned earlier, that exercise is just so important, and our health is going to be so important to see us through this. So I've just listed some really easy exercises that we can incorporate daily. Walking, super easy, don't need to tell you how to do that. But I do have to say, when last week and the week before, which feels like last month and the month before, we were actually finishing at 5 o'clock, and VA and I would go on these long walks, not together. We would have that time and actually go on those long walks. And I'm like, great, I've got this set into my routine. Fantastic. Yeah, not so fantastic when the time changed and we had daylight savings went off. So then I had to change my routine around. So I started doing it earlier in the morning, but it just took too long. So now I'm actually splitting it up into the day. So I do 20 minutes in the morning, 20 minutes at lunchtime, and 20 minutes in the afternoon after I've finished work. And that is working really, really well for me. You know, you don't have to think that it's one set of exercise and that's it for the day. Actually having those 3 little breaks and the exercise is amazing. All round, it works really well. Yoga, now all of you may not be into yoga and that's absolutely fine, but you know, being a yoga teacher, it's very hard for me not to say that, you know, the benefits from yoga are amazing. The great thing is there are so many different yoga videos online, and you can do, you know, 20-minute classes, or you can do 1-hour classes. I actually have all my yoga classes up on YouTube, and there's a little link there. So yeah, if you want proper qualified yoga classes, I actually have them there on YouTube. But, you know, even if you find a 10-minute or a 15-minute yoga class that you understand the instructor, you like what they're doing, you don't have to look for different yoga classes. Just use that one 3 or 4 times a week and enjoy it. You know, you'll see the benefits. Meditation. Again, this could sound a little bit airy-fairy, but it's not actually. This is really, really important to our mental health. And when we were all in the office at Creative Recruiters, we were all meditating at lunchtime. We all had our set times. We had different things that we listened to or different ways that we meditate. And again, there are so many things online that you can look up to. And, you know, meditation can also be 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It doesn't have to be 15 minutes or half an hour and complete silence. I mean, a meditation also for me is just listening to very, very relaxing, quiet music for 5 minutes. That's 5 minutes of meditation. And again, everywhere you read, meditation is just so beneficial for our health and well-being. So again, lots of apps out there and lots of things on YouTube to follow. Stretching, super important again now that we are inside most of the time. And stretching is not always the same as yoga. As you know, your body will tell you when you need to stretch. You know, you've been sitting in the chair for a long time, your arms automatically come up. That's your body telling you that you need to stretch. I think we just need to listen to our bodies a little bit more and take the time to get up and stretch. I mean, it happened to me the other day. I said to VA, I said, I think my bum's gone numb. I just forgot that I had been sitting for 4 hours straight doing work. You know, I need to get up, I need to stretch a little bit and then come back. So also super important.
Any questions on that?
And then that's me finished.
Well, I guess if there's no questions, we'll move on to the last bit, which is, of course, that, you know, right now, I guess we're finding ourselves all in various different situations. We have people that are still working from home. We have people who've been stood down, have freelancers who are looking for work. We have people who've been made unemployed. And you know, certainly for those people that are finding it hard at the moment, my heart goes out to you. I know it's a challenging time. Because of that, it can sometimes be a little bit harder to know how to best use this time. And while there's no easy way to try to, well, jobs will exist. At the moment, they might be a little bit on the slower side. And so really what we want to try to do is figure out how we can utilize this time the most beneficially now. What we can do right now that is going to be able to make sure that as we get closer towards the end of this, what you've done with this time is going to help you to be able to find newer opportunities once again. One of the key things I really recommend is about being able to train up in a new skill right now. You know, quite fortunately, there's a lot of courses out there that have either become discounted or even free. And, you know, I can share around some links after this that cover that. But I look at it this way, and I want you to think back, for those that have been in this industry for a while, back to 2008. You need to do hands there with that. Go back to that time when the GFC hit back then. What did we discover? Firstly, we discovered that a lot of the businesses let go of their staff, which was sad. But then what we also discovered was that when they did start to employ people again, what they were doing was what I nicknamed the Frankenbrief, which is that they would take this element of this role, this element of this role, this element of this role, mash it all together and say, we're looking for this unicorn. Now, if you're taking time now to reflect upon what areas of your skill set could be further developed and beginning to do the work to fill in those gaps, you're coming closer and closer to being that unicorn as we get to the other side of this. Now, whenever anyone comes in to meet with any of us, we'll often ask them about what areas they feel they could further develop upon. One of the key responses I get 99% of the time is digital.
Yeah.
Now, my response often to that is, what does digital mean for you? Because it's quite broad. It could be UX, UI. It could be motion graphics. It could be social media. It could be wireframing and landing pages and a whole manner of things. It could be video editing, that sort of thing as well. And even more recently, some of the more recent freelance jobs we've had been in motion graphics, because we recognize that that's what a lot of TVCs are probably going to be made in. So this is a good example. If motion graphics isn't something you have experience with right now, now might be the best time to go and explore that, to be able to tap into that skill set and develop that further. Even things like, more recently, I've had requests for things like Microsoft Office. Now, most creatives will hate that. We know that. But if this is about developing skill sets that are going to be useful for you as you get towards opportunities coming up again, then this is going to be a great use of your time. On the flip side of that, do you have a skill set that you could teach others? Because if you do, this could be a great opportunity for you to be able to reach out and say, if there's anyone out there that wants to learn how to do X, I'm happy to show you how to do that, to build connections, or to even offer your own online course that could potentially bring some passive revenue. So there's lots of different things you can do right now in terms of investing in time now to help ensure that you're getting better opportunities when they start to come through next.
And the other idea that I had this morning when Lawrence and I were talking
it's a great one too,
is if you want to learn something, so say I want to learn how to do copywriting, maybe that person wants to learn how to do, I don't know, yoga or something. Maybe there's a swap of disciplines or teaching that you have, and put on LinkedIn. I can provide training in this and this and this, and I would love training if somebody could give it to me in this and this and this area. I think that's a great barter system to have. It also allows you to make new friends and get new skills. I think it's a great way to collaborate.
The reality is this: we are going through a challenging time. No one knows how long this will go for or where it's going to go. We can think optimistically and know that this will pass at some point. But what you're doing right now can make a difference. You could go and watch Tiger King if you wanted to, because it feels like everyone else is. I've only got through 3/4 of episode 1. I don't know. Or you could take this time to invest in yourself. If you were your own employer, if you're your own brand, you could invest in yourself right now to learn a new skill and to step closer to being that Frankenbrief, so that when those opportunities will come in, you're almost 100% fit for that. That to me makes a lot of sense in terms of what to do with this time right now if you're finding opportunities not coming in. Obviously, you need to do things like explore what the government packages are and how they might apply to you and all that sort of stuff to get that stability of having a roof over the head and everything. But once that's done, if you have the time, explore what it is that is a missing skill set for you right now that you can start to close that gap on. Any questions on that? No?
I'd love to hear from the group to see if people are upskilling, what they're upskilling in. Pat, you shared with me that you're upskilling in digital marketing, which is really smart. I think that we have a lot of requests for graphic designers that understand digital marketing now, so that they can design not just the social assets, but the content, for example. As Pat said, it's a really great time to reinvent yourself. Is there anyone else doing?
Helen has written in that she's learning how to touch type. That's
nice one.
True. A lot of people don't know how to touch type. So good one, Helen. Great.
This is the thing also, to elaborate on that. It doesn't have to necessarily be training around creative. It could actually be training around how to run a business.
Yeah. And Nicole has written that she's working through Google Digital Garage. There you go. I didn't even know that.
I didn't even know. Yeah. Can you talk to us afterwards?
Can you share with us what that is?
Yeah.
Nicole, do you want to unmute? Where are you? I saw you before. There we go. Unmute. Sorry, Nicole. Go.
That's okay. Wait a minute.
Are you there, Nicole?
I'm here. I've actually been doing the dishes.
Yeah, it's very quiet in the background there.
So Google Digital Garage they've got online. Oh wait, no, I'll shut off the speaker. They've got on tutorials, videos, and content, and also there is a certification that comes along with it as well. And it goes over mobile advertising, pay-per-click, SEO, and there is even some personal development classes in that. I'll grab a link and I'll shoot it across to you.
That would be fantastic, because any of these links we can send across to people after this presentation as well.
Just concurring with Nicole on that, I'm also on the Google Digital Garage as well, guys, and it's fantastic. It's a really, really engaging platform. Gives you so many opportunities and scoping as to have a deep understanding, appreciation of digital marketing.
Fantastic, Pat. That's great.
I think, the industry has been moving more and more towards integrated designers anyway for the past few years. Consider what this period of time is going to do towards digital as we get towards the next side. Really, digital is what's saving our jobs right now. Do you think we're going to get to the other side of this and people aren't going to be even more reliant on it? Logically, this is going to really cement that need for creatives to be integrated. So if there is something about being an integrated designer that makes you feel anxious, maybe reflect on that and figure out what it is that's causing that right now, and see if you can do something that's going to close that gap, because really that's going to secure job opportunities for you as they start to come in.
And if you guys haven't got your chat box open it up, because Nicole has put the link in there for the digital learning. But we can all Google it as well, I'm sure. What else did you have for us, Lawrence?
I think that was it. I only put one slide there because I didn't want to bore the crap out of people. So I wanted to keep it simple. So yeah, we've got ask any questions or need any further clarification.
Could I just raise a point if I can? Vicky Ann, I'm on a private chat with you, and I don't seem to be able to change the settings. I've sent two chats in.
So directly above where it has the message, there's a little box saying to, and if you do the pull down menu, you can change that to everyone there.
Excellent work. Thanks, Lawrence.
No problem. I'm a friendly Zoom IT person.
You are. Well done.
I'm just waiting for Hamish to join.
Yeah, I would have loved that. Couldn't someone have let him know? It would have been great if Hamish from Hamish and Andy has been Zoom bombing.
When I say I'm waiting, I mean I'm waiting now. I've thoroughly enjoyed the content. Thank you.
Thanks for that. That's very kind of you. And hopefully, as I mentioned at the start, the aim of this today wasn't to go down the usual route of let's do your CV and folio and all that sort of thing. We need to start at what's going to be beneficial right now for people. But obviously over the coming weeks, if there's topics that people want to discuss or have put into this forum let us know, because we're wanting to do this to make sure that we're here to support people.
Which is the next page, Lawrence.
Oh, is it? Oh, what would you like to see? Right, okay.
So you can, look, we don't need to go into all of that now, but the 3 questions we have there is, what would you like us to present in the coming weeks? Because we are going to do this every Wednesday, and there was a hashtag webinar Wednesday, so I thought that was super.
Ooh, we have a hashtag now.
Yeah. So we can only do webinars on Wednesdays because of the hashtag. Was this helpful for you? And the other question is, would you recommend this to others? And if you go to the next page, you've got Lawrence's email address there, my email address, so it doesn't have to be in the chat. You can send it to us separately. And also, don't forget, we have, Lawrence and I were talking about this today, we have such a wealth of information that all our blogs that are sitting on the Creative Recruiters website. I'm also going to promote our YouTube page at some stage as well, because there's just so much learning stuff on there that may be valuable in these times.
Mm. And certainly, we obviously we are recruiters. We're going to talk about recruiting things, but it doesn't necessarily always have to be solely about that sort of thing. That's why we want to talk about things like mental health and wellness and physical wellness as well. And certainly there's things, maybe next webinar I can show you how to make a mean espresso martini or something like that. It can be a bit fun sometimes too. So it's just about making sure that we have an opportunity to connect, to chat, to talk about whatever's happening out there and go from there.
And Francis, you brought up a good point, just wondering, apart from digital, what skills are employers looking for in the marketing fields? At the moment, that's very difficult to say because they're not looking at the moment. But, as Lawrence, VA, and myself will be speaking to clients and will be monitoring what is happening out there, we will let you guys know.
I do wholeheartedly believe that what we're seeing is it's quite unique, because obviously not only do we have this economic downturn, but a lot of the people making decisions have had to figure out how to mobilize their on-site teams off-site. And I think a lot of them are still just trying to make sense of what the world is now, let alone how they're moving their teams off-site and how they're going to have servers and work communicate and all that sort of thing. I think over the coming couple of weeks, we'll start to see those processes being put in place, and those businesses start to think, well, what else do we need now? And that's where I think opportunities will start to come up. I think we'll probably not see as many perm opportunities immediately, but we will start to see some freelance opportunities. So if that's something you're open to, provided you have a home setup, provided you have a Creative Suite license that's current, then it could be something that could work for you.
Great. Any last questions before we log off for today?
Thanks, everyone.
I was just going to say something.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. Hi, everyone. It's Christian. Hi. Look, obviously, some thoughts for next time is perhaps we could start. I don't know how everyone's going, but it's about staying creative as well. I think that, I definitely love all your points, Lawrence, about breaking up your day. Your structure, I think, is really, really important. And I hope that everyone's doing that. I've been splitting up my hours, so you have a sense of purpose, so you log in, you do 4 hours and you have a break or do a run, ride your bike, whatever. But then, and then when you actually get in front of your Mac, it's because you're so, consumed by everyone around you, or friends or family or mates or colleagues that have lost their roles or whatever, to stay creative and to stay connected, because obviously we're all used to going to exhibitions, going to talks, chats, whatever. So, there was obviously the Cause exhibition, which I was able to see online through NGV, which was very generous of them. But, maybe that's something we could think about as a topic for next time is as the next part. You've covered off what's crucial right now, but, moving forward, maybe next time we talk about inspiration and where we're all, getting inspired and just sort of keeping hungry creatively, I suppose.
I think that's a great topic.
Yeah,
I really do.
Because yes, I definitely keep active. Your yoga, your exercise, your routine, your sense of structure. You know, I'm doing the same as you, Lawrence. You know, making your coffee, getting dressed, getting ready for work, and then blocking out that time. And then I'm upskilling as well. So I've been learning Illustrator XD. I've been playing around with that. And MailChimp, I finally had the time to play with doing that. Just never had the time, and now I have the time, which has been terrific. But then you do your exercise. But it's the inspiration, because I want to say that I don't feel I'm doing my best work right now. I think I'm just doing it, but I'm certainly not going, oh my God, you know, I'm not feeling as widely, I guess, creative as perhaps normal, and perhaps that's a topic for next time.
I think that's an excellent topic.
About. Yeah,
definitely.
And it might just even be some exhibitions that you've seen online that we could just look at. You know, I wrote down your Google Digital Garage. I didn't know about that. That's something just to have a bit of a look around. I'm certainly interested in that. And what we're all doing for inspiration, you know, because we can't get out there. We can't go to exhibitions, you know. I'm gutted the semi-permanent in Sydney, which I looked forward to, has been postponed till later, you know, obviously, like every conference. I'm looking forward to getting to that whenever we can. But I think that's something that we could talk about.
I'd really love to see these catch-ups as being not so much a presentation, but an opportunity for people to share ideas and to talk, and exactly what you just said then. So I couldn't be more grateful for your comment Christian.
And another thing I'm doing is there's loads of businesses and companies out there, non-for-profits, that are crying out for help, design support. So, you know, I've had my days cut back, and I'm filling that with doing some more pro bono work. So that's something, guys, to think about as well, because I feel if you're just busy, it certainly helps the days swing by before it's gin hour, you know, which is, you know...
Wonderful karma as well.
It really, absolutely wonderful karma. So, you know, I've been breaking up my week with doing some more non-for-profit, which I've taken on, and then my regular day. So that's just another suggestion, because it just helps you keep busy rather than sitting there for 4 hours thinking, what am I going to do today? You know, I'll look at Facebook or whatever. When you have campaigns that I'm working on now for free, but it's keeping you busy mentally as well. So,
and thanks for that, Christian. And
that's okay.
You what was your question that you wanted to?
Is that Lisa J? Yeah, because I saw Lisa J raised her hand there.
There we go. I unmuted you. There you go.
Oh, not much of a question, just more a thank you. This has been really, really helpful. Really helpful. Yeah, I was getting a bit down. I lost my job, full-time job, mid-March, and just having a chat to other creatives in similar position is really, I feel inspired again. Thanks.
Oh, thank you. It's kind of you to offer that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay. Look, I think in that case, thank you everyone for spending your time with us. We're extremely grateful that you've had this time with us. We look forward to next Wednesday. Christian, thank you so much for that suggestion. I think we'll take that one and run with that. Yep. And please come along next week, next Wednesday at 1. We'll send out a new link for that. And the more conversation we can have with each other, the better. The more we can support each other as well.
Yeah, thanks everyone. We're getting lovely messages. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Look after.
Everyone, take care.